So we will be talking about in this episode about Antonio Brown. I'm sure most of you guys have heard the dilemma that's going on with him. Let's just start off and say Antonio Brown is a mess. He is one of those players who is very self-centered. He's very dramatized in everything he does. He likes to play victim in a lot of scenarios. He was a Hall of Fame receiver for the Steelers. He was going to be in the Hall of Fame, let's be honest. He played for the Steelers for the longest time, one of my favorite ever players. And then he went to the Raiders for like a solid week. Got dropped from that, went to the Patriots, got dropped again.
Yep.
And then now plays on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But recently some news has developed of him in the middle of a game, which we will discuss, along with multiple other things and lots of opinions, because, the media has been swaying a lot over this, and I do want to explain both sides as well as possible. But Carter, I will leave it up to you to introduce Mr. Antonio Brown. So what, in your words, what is his problems?
But yeah, Antonio Brown, he's gone off the rails. I think for a while, everyone thought he was going to go back to normal, and then he did this. I think for a while he was back to normal. He was doing well. He was doing really well with the Bucs, putting out pretty good numbers. Nowhere was as much as where he was in Pittsburgh, but he was still good. He's definitely out of his prime, but he was still a good, solid receiver, and could be a number one receiver on some teams. So I just think I don't know what happened to him, man. I think ever since that one hit by Vontaze Burfict, he's never been the same.
Yeah. Antonio Brown, and I think it did, lots of people say that he has CTE, brain damage, which is definitely part of the issue. And it all started with that Vontaze Burfict hit. A lot of people remember that, and if you don't, it's up on the screen, obviously. But I think CTE isn't caused from one direct thing. It's usually multiple hits to the head. And I think that over the course of his career, he's a receiver, so they get hit, quite a bit. In terms of CTE, I hope he gets the help he deserves, because it is very depressing to see who once was one of my favorite players of all time. Quite like I've got a poster and an autograph from him in my room that I'm now selling. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's depressing to see someone who's that talented as a player and a receiver to go down this just spiraling path. I mean, it started with, convictions of sexual assault to convictions of vandalism. And it all started with the Raiders stuff, and he called
the Raiders GM a cracker.
A cracker, yeah. And he's just saying all of this stuff, causing all of this drama. And you have to wonder, is it him or is it the organization? And I think that leads us into our next point, because a lot of stuff has developed over this past weekend. If you guys do not know what happened, Antonio Brown was benched in the middle of the Jets and Buccaneers game. The Jets were in the middle of pulling off one of the greatest upsets I've ever seen. I mean, they didn't end up winning, but they were pulling off a great upset. They were losing. The Bucs were losing. So Antonio Brown got benched. And, normally that's not a huge deal. Players will go onto the bench and, get a breather or whatever and come back out. However, apparently, and this is what Bruce Arians states, so I'm going to state both sides. Bruce Arians stated that Antonio Brown, he wanted to put him back into the game, and Antonio Brown refused and would not go back into the game. And then he said that you're off the team. Antonio Brown claimed that he was injured. I think it was his ankle or something in his foot. He claimed that he was injured and refused to go back out. And then some dispute happened, and it led to Antonio Brown storming off of the field. He took his jersey and pads off, tossed his stuff into the stands, did a little ballerina dance and jumping jacks on the Jets end zone, and then proceeded to walk out of the stadium and field. So I think, because Antonio Brown has a really bad history, and he also has a really bad history with being the victim of a lot of things. However, he released text messages of texts between the coach and him, and then Tom Brady's trainer, I believe, was one of them as well. And some of the stuff that I'm hearing and seeing on the internet, and not only just in the internet from websites, but also from him, it looks like the Buccaneers have been not abusing. I want to say that very lightly, because abuse is more like the Urban Meyer stuff that we discussed last week. I think there is something in the Buccaneers that was going on where they were forcing players to play through injury. And here's my reason why. Antonio Brown, while he is a drama queen, is hilarious to look at in the news. He exposes every team he plays for.
And he's right about most of it. Like, he was completely right with the Steelers. He was right with the Raiders and John Gruden.
Yeah, he was literally right about John Gruden, and he was right about them being racist and abusive, and he was right. I mean, the Patriots gig didn't last very long, let's be honest. He just wanted to play for Tom Brady, which, once he moved, then he moved. But
we were like, the moment that he came out with like the sexual assault stuff, Patriots dropped him so fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the point is, Antonio Brown's not the greatest person. However, he released pictures lately of screenshots, and let me tell you something. It looks to me like Antonio, and so this is what Antonio Brown was claiming, was that he was injured in the game and could not go back onto the field. Now, Carter had a good point. It doesn't look like he was very injured when he was dancing in the end zone and hopping up and down, which I will admit looks really sketchy. However, it is also an injury. Apparently, he has had work done on it.
He is getting surgery.
What? He is getting surgery?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So, obviously there is some injury there. So that's not a lie. And then the text messages show that apparently Bruce Arians was forcing players, like Gronk is the biggest example, of playing through injury, because the Bucs have been plagued with injuries this season. And what Bruce is trying to do is eliminate all resting opportunities for these players. And obviously, for both of us being athletes, you know that an injury is nothing to mess around with, even if it's something small in your ankle or something like that. It is very hard to play through an injury. And I think that if a coach forces you through playing an injury, I think that kind of says something like, hey, this isn't right. And I know the Bucs, this huge franchise now with Tom Brady, and they're Super Bowl winners, and they really want to show out and do all this other stuff. They want to be a winning team. I think it gets to Bruce Arians' head a little bit. I think that he gets blinded by the fact that they're so good, and when their players start dropping like flies, I think he gets a little panicky, and he puts in players while they're still injured. And this doesn't just go for Antonio Brown, but this goes for the entire roster, because apparently multiple athletes have been put it in forcefully from him to play. Now, this does not excuse any of Antonio Brown's behavior, because his behavior is obviously a huge part of the problem. But I think that he is exposing the teams that he plays for in the wrong way. I think he needs to be a little bit more mature about it. But I do think that it is good that someone is shedding some light on these issues, because Antonio Brown, while he is insane in the head and gets looked upon negatively, the media is starting to switch sides on him. I mean, I loved Antonio Brown. I started to hate him, obviously, when all this stuff started to happen back, 2-3 years ago. But right now, I am actually somewhat on his side. I feel like there is something that he is going through that we do not understand and has not been announced yet. Bruce Arians is answering questions from the media very thinly. He's not giving a lot of detail, while Antonio Brown's out here leaking entire conversations. So something tells me that Antonio Brown is not completely in the wrong, but that's just my opinion. What's yours?
I think there might be some truth to this, but I also think this dude probably shouldn't be in the NFL anymore. He's had his time. He's had his chances, and he's blown them. I mean, it's definitely wrong if you are forcing a player through the injury. That should be blown. But usually that should be dealt with a internal manner at first, at least. And then if that doesn't go wrong, then maybe go to the press. Don't storm off in the middle of a field, take off all your gear, and make a huge scene. Like, what the heck? That's like, why would you do that? Only Antonio Brown would do that. Only Antonio Brown.
And well,
And
the thing is, he was what 53 yards, 1 touchdown, and a couple of receptions away from a huge bonus. So it would make no sense for him to not go in after being benched, because originally when this thing first happened, the day that it happened, the reason why Antonio Brown was so mad and stormed off the field is because Bruce Arians would refuse to let him play. But now that we're learning it's the opposite, that he tried to get him to play, but Antonio Brown was hurt. And I also think that's something worth noting is that he didn't look injured. Well, like you said earlier, he didn't look injured when he jumped off of the field. He also didn't look injured. If he was super injured, he would stay off of the field for his own health benefit. But since he has CTE, he probably can't make those decisions. But anyways, go back to what you were saying. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's all right. I don't know what I was saying anymore. I just think the dude's time has come. Maybe some team will take a chance on him because he is productive. He went like a year and a half without an incident, or like 2 years, and
he was clean there for a while.
Very solid numbers for the Bucks. And I mean, if another team wants to take him for a season, maybe 2 if they're lucky, and get some good usage out of him, why not? I mean, he's still young enough to play. He's still very talented, very good, and he's playing at a high performance level, obviously. But I don't know if any team will, and his NFL career might be over.
Yeah,
we'll see him playing in Canada with Drew Lock.
Yeah, and I do want to point out some messages. So now I'm looking at his entire. I don't think I'm going to read this to everyone because it is going to take a minute. But Antonio Brown released an apology / thank you note from him to the Bucks. Let's see. I'm just going to point out some highlights of this. Blah 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 blah. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to the Bucks fans and my teammates. We worked together to resolve those difficulties, and I will always appreciate that. Being a part of a Super Bowl champion team and then a contender is a dream come true. I've made mistakes. I'm working on myself, and I have positive influences around me. But one thing I don't do is shy away from playing hard on the field. No one can accuse of me not giving it my all every play. Blah, 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 blah. Because of my commitment to the game, I relented to pressure directly from my coach to play injured. Despite the pain, I suited up. The staff injected me with what I now know was a powerful and somewhat dangerous painkiller that the NFLPA has warned against using, and I gave it all for my team. I played until it was clear that I could not use my ankle to safely perform at my playing responsibilities. On top of that,
but you were fucking jumping around in the end zone. Like what?
Exactly. Like why? If you were in this bad of the pain, why were you jumping up and down in the end zone, screaming at fans, waving at people, throwing your crap into the stands, and then walking off? Yeah, to me does not scream injury.
That's where his argument doesn't hold up because he's still faking, I'm injured. And I haven't seen anybody else talking about this. It's like, I'm so injured. Why are you? He's literally jumping around doing like cartwheels and crap in the end zone. Like, bro, that doesn't look injured to me. Like, I'm currently kind of like, I had the worst knot cross country yesterday. First day back since I'm break. First day of school, first training. And my leg, I'm still in so much pain. I cannot go jumping around in the end zone. Like, what the dude? And like I don't really buy it. It's just the way he acted right then. And I mean, I don't like, if he's getting surgery, but then like, what? I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't think he's an injured person. I don't really buy it.
Yeah, but on top of this, he does say, as part of their ongoing cover-up, they are acting like I wasn't cut and now demanding that I see a doctor of their choice to examine my ankle. What they did not know until now is that on Monday morning, I had an urgent MRI on my ankle. It shows broken bone fragments stuck in my ankle, the ligament torn from the bone, the cartilage loss, which are beyond painful. You can see the bone bulging from the outside, but that must and can be repaired. Blah, 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 blah. The MRI has been read by 2 orthopedic surgeons in NYC. So apparently it's pretty official that he does have this injury. Why he was jumping up and down, I don't know. But I will say there are multiple accounts of the Bucks forcing players to play while they're injured and not 100% healthy. So, obviously I don't think Bruce Arians is a terrible person. I don't think anybody in the Bucks is a terrible person. I will say a lot of people are turning against the Bucks right now. A lot of people are, obviously still against Antonio Brown, but that nothing new has changed there. But I will say the media is swinging. A lot of people are changing their opinions. I think that Antonio Brown, for once in these last 4 years of drama, I think for once he is not 100% to blame for these actions. I think there's a little bit of BS in his argument, but for the most part, an injury of that size is kind of hard to fake, especially with an MRI done and like actual evidence that it's there. Plus the text messages that he sent out with Bruce Arians saying that they take no rest off for the playoffs and all that stuff. So I think that Antonio Brown this situation needs to be looked at deeper. And until we get more information, we can't make a proper judgment as to who is right. Because right now it's just a he said argument. There's lots of evidence involved. But I think until we get a little more detail, if Bruce Arians is willing to speak more on the matter, I think that we can make a proper judgment of what actually is going on there. And, it's obviously funny because Antonio Brown has exposed his other teams for doing stuff. I mean, he was 100% correct about the Raiders. Like, look what happened to the Raiders this past year. I mean, they absolutely fell apart, and Antonio Brown was right about everything. So, if he truly is right about everything, I think there's going to be some investigation for the Bucks in terms of player safety, health, and all that. But I do think that Antonio Brown is a little crazy and needs to be controlled.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's I think his time in the NFL is probably done, let's be real, which is kind of sad, but I don't think you can really come back from that unless some team, like I said, is willing to, risk it for the biscuit, which definitely possible because I think he still has playing time in him, but I don't know. I think it screws over.
Yeah, I know. I 100% agree with you. I think Antonio Brown he's done. If any team wants to pick him back up, it is such a big risk. First of all, because he's probably going to expose y'all. Let's be honest, and for something, he'll find something to expose you guys on. But I think that in terms of him being on the team, I think it's just a bad influence. He's saying that he's surrounded by good influences, but as far as we can tell, his behavior has not changed between now since his last year with Pittsburgh throughout these last couple of years. He had one good grace period for a couple of months, and then just stuff started happening again. I think that, and I saw on the Pat McAfee show about them talking about how they hope he gets the help that he deserves, and I 100% agree. I don't know about you, but CTE is no joke. I think it's evident that he has something going on with him. Yeah, I think he needs to be checked out because
there were texts. Sorry not to cut you off, but there were texts. He's being exposed by this OnlyFans star for like paying her to come over the night before the game, sneaking her in the hotel, and some DMs she exchanged with this source, Ghetto Gronk. You can go see on a story. It'll probably be deleted by the time this is up, but you can see on a story that he asked her if he seems right in the head, and she said he's a nice guy, but something is definitely off. So
something is definitely off.
He probably should retire for his health because that one hit, it rocked him, man. He may have been rushed back.
It is sad, and you're absolutely correct, because he was once this super inspirational, he was going to the Hall of Fame. He was one of the best Steelers receivers to ever play with us. And I think that he just lost it. I think this does bring some awareness onto the situation as well. Like, this is really what happens when CTE gets to somebody, because we don't technically know that he has CTE, but let's be honest. He definitely has something within the CTE spectrum of it's brain injury. That's what it is. It's definitely sad, but I think some light should be shed on the situation, onto awareness for this type of stuff, especially when it gets as bad as Antonio Brown's case, because it is absolutely devastating to see this one star receiver go down this huge downhill spiral, and it just keeps going. And he's probably going to continue having issues past him not being signed by another team if he does decide to retire, which I think he should. But knowing Antonio Brown, he probably won't. He'll just be a free agent, and I don't think anybody will pick him up.
No.
I mean, if they do, good luck. Like, I mean, I wouldn't want this having upon my franchise. Like, if I was an owner and they were looking at Antonio Brown, I'd be like, heck no, don't even consider it. But hey, I mean, you never know. There's always time for second chances, but Antonio Brown has gotten a lot of second chances. So
He's on like his 4th chance at this point.
Yeah, more like 10th, maybe hitting double digits here soon. But yeah, I definitely think that he needs some help. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Unless you have anything else to add, do you?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Please leave your thoughts, because we do want to hear y'all's opinions on this issue and what they're gonna do for the future. But until next time, we will catch you guys later. Have a great one. Peace.
Peace.